Join us for this day of reflection, reverence, and resistance in the spirit of Malcolm X. On May 19th, we're not asking permission to claim Malcolm X Day.
I judge a man by his conscious behavior. I am not a racist. I don't subscribe to any of the tenets of racism.
Malcolm, I mean, good God, he just don't have a language for that, brother. He's black music in motion. He's jazz enacted and embodied in that sense.
He was what the Tamil people in West Africa call a truth teller.
Black men in Africa had mastered the arts and the sciences.
They say every 1,000 years, one is born. They tell the truth, regardless of the cost.
He knew the course of the stars in the universe before the man up in Europe knew that the earth wasn't flat.
And he told the black people of America the truth about themselves in an unvarnished, ruthless, eloquent manner.
The power structure had successfully created the image of the American Negro as someone with no confidence, no militancy.
But when a black man strikes back, he's an extremist. He's supposed to sit passively and have no feelings, be not violent, love his enemy. What kind of attack, be it verbal or otherwise, he's supposed to take it. But if he stands up and in any way tries to defend himself, then he's a extremist. They come in their mouth, that's a coward. They put on a sheet so you won't know who they are, that's a coward. No. The time will come when that sheet will be ripped off. If the federal government doesn't take it off, we'll take it off.
Take the day off of work and school and join us at 2857 Main Street in East Point, Georgia. The Total Core Body Spa will be a complete day of enlightening entertainment and education of Malcolm X.
All right. You all, I'm gonna tell you the truth. Whenever that song comes on, I am like, what? Like I'm ready for it. I'm ready for it. I don't know about y'all, but I just be like, what? And that's not because I am doing some of the organizing and the marketing of the event, but that's everything about that entire vibe, the way that music goes, the words. Shout out to the one and the only Mikey Pow Pow for putting that together. And absolutely, for anyone that has gotten their tickets for Claim Malcolm X Day, y'all already know we are getting ready for CMXD. We are MXAF, your PTO. It is time, y'all. Because for any other day, oh, you have this planned out weeks in advance. You have it planned out weeks in advance, but we're saying, hey, go ahead. You now have 2 weeks. You're 2 weeks out, so you're still in perfect time to make sure that you are getting paid for that time off if you're on the corporate plan. If not, you ain't gotta apologize or say nothing to nobody. It is just deuces. I'm putting a day and I'll be there in Atlanta, East Point, Atlanta, right here for Claim Malcolm X Day. And King Randall's going to be in the building, y'all. When the ex boys school is coming, the boys school ex, I'm getting it all because I'm so excited. But he's bringing his boys to it. We have Jeremiah from the Hands Off Foundation coming to it. We got Cha Cha Martin. We had to pull her out of New York to come down for it. But this thing is going to be incredible. We are collectively raising the consciousness for this celebration. We're raising it, as a brother said in the first trailer, we're raising it to the heavens, y'all. No one in history has ever gotten a day recognized internationally, and it is about time. Malcolm's narrative has been controlled too long. And you all tune in tonight because y'all know I'm gonna do my due diligence. I am recording live for Two Raw for TV, Printing Press and Studios, and tonight on Two Raw for TV, a blog. Please make sure if you want to attend that special live tonight, make sure you drop your email in. our none other than our brother Palmetto Star, but you can call him Prophet, will be hosting an amazing show tonight about the magic of Malcolm. How words just it could heal or kill. Oh, I love it. I love it. Y'all know where I'm gonna be. So please make sure you join us. Absolutely. Hello. We got our brethren out of South Florida in here today. We got Shelly Speaks Truth. We got Urban Country Films. Hello, hello, hello. Naima Saunders. Oh, thank you so much for stepping on in today. But this is going to be a really exciting one, you all, because when we're talking about Malcolm, right? We're talking about what Malcolm stood for with being unapologetic about our independence. Let's not make any shortcomings about that. But let's be very honest. Oh, and I'm sorry, I forgot to mention. Thank you for reminding me. Melanated People just bought up some tickets. So melanatedpeople.net. You all, when we're getting this type of traction, when we're getting this type of interest, when we're gonna have Stand Conscious closing out, y'all, we're gonna have Stand Conscious closing out. We're gonna have a youth performance group coming out of South Carolina. I went to high school, actually not even just high school. I went to grade school, middle school, and high school with the mother of this of the members of this wonderful group, and man, she was like, Courtney, I gotta be there. I gotta be there. So when this is having this type of attention, this type of exposure and engagement, then you're sitting here in Atlanta. Well, you don't have it's no choice. It's no choice but to be MX all day. Wednesday, May 19th, make sure you go to coloredonlycafe.com to cop your tickets. There are only a few more tickets left. And also, word on the street is if you have any access to Brother Palmetto's social media accounts, he actually made sure he squared away a few for his special guests to make sure that no one is left out. We don't want to lose anyone out on this event, and we also want to be very mindful that we already know with everything with going on and what they say you have to have checked off, and with COVID and everything, we are making sure that we are sticking very much in those guidelines because we have such an incredible event laid out for the entire day. We don't want any interruptions. Any interruptions. Birthright Marketplace will be there. Double Dose, y'all. The beautiful hostess with the mostess of Double Dose will be there as well. But when we talk about Malcolm and we talk about the independence that Malcolm made no qualms about it, wanted our own, and knew that we were, dare say it, entitled to our own. Our uh our blood literally in the soil from where these monuments are built and still being visited today, and we ain't never got paid no taxes from them, right? We literally worked to death on some of these locations, right? So when we talk about the importance and significance of independence, where can we see that reflected in any community or culture throughout the nation? Where? So enter our guest. Enter our guest that is going to be coming up to the stage today. Just I have there are few things that I love more than getting some new knowledge, right? Being educated. And I'm telling you, every time this brother speaks, I learn so much. Even with someone that is politically as inclined as I am and came from a family as such, where dinner talk was, what places need to be protested against, where we were rallying. Like I tell people all the time, I didn't go to a prom or homecoming, but I knew all of my rally songs. I knew all of my protest songs, all different keys. I knew those, but I didn't see a prom or a homecoming. Never saw one. So, but when someone that was raised in the vein of political activism, right? When I can say honestly, sincerely, that this gentleman has been nothing short of just an intellectual, juggernaut when it comes to how he can recognize political infrastructure, how he recognizes strategy, and how we can use it to our benefit. It was a no-brainer when I was given the opportunity to have him as a guest today, and I'm very pleased that this fit into his schedule because he's quite a busy person. But with no further delay, we are going to bring to the stage none other than the founder of the Mahali Party, Mr. J.L. Lizu. Welcome, welcome. Wait, you're on mute.
I apologize. Hey,
Go ahead. Yes. One
yes,
more
okay,
time, because I was pressing it, I think, at the same time you were. So go ahead
okay,
again, JL. Sorry about that.
sure. Thanks for having me in your event. I really appreciate having the opportunity to address the issues of our people, and more importantly, to reach out to you again. So thank you.
Thank you. Pleasure, honestly, as WB Du Bois said, I assure you, the pleasure was all ours. The pleasure was, I'm the emphasis of that. The pleasure is all mine, I assure you. I've just been, like I said, it was a no-brainer when Brother Kwame, who is our mutual contact and brother, said, hey, are you interested in having JL come on the show? I said, are you kidding me? And, I was like, of course. The only thing that needed to be figured out was just into the schedule. I am absolutely honored, part of such an aggressive and an unapologetic political minded and just a strategic mentality encouraging group that you've absolutely that you're spearheading. And I thank you so much for, the group is just so welcoming and warm with inviting me in to the conversation and to join. I really appreciated just that welcome, the initial. They always say you never get a second chance to make a first impression, and the first impression of the Mahali Party members was just over the moon. It was better than any introduction I had previously to any other political party. Because as you always say, with the Democrats, or some might say Dixiecrats or Democrats, it's always expectation. Like, especially if you are black, honey, you better be a Democrat, right? And then with
Mhm.
the Republicans, because I was actually an elected official as a Republican. And when I went to mingle with them, it was like the black people in the room, we just made eyes towards each other. That was how that was. It was like, let's organize in private because we can't let them see us talking. Can't be too many of us, conspiring over here. So, joining in, coming into the conversation with the Mahali Party was like, wow, it was like opening up a door to your house. You're
Mhm.
everybody. Hey, you know where the kitchen is. Make you something or get something. But it was a welcome. It was a welcome invitation. So again, I thank you because I often say your energy, it dictates how people carry on that same mindset. And if it's the same thing in corporations. If the boss is a hole or whatever, then of course the coworkers or colleagues are going to be that. But obviously you've created an atmosphere of warmth, the atmosphere of, I didn't feel embarrassed to have to ask certain questions, regarding some strategy. It was a very welcoming atmosphere. So I thank you for just being a part of creating that. And I see we are filling up in here, so I'm excited to let you get to work, JL, and I can just sit back and recline and take my notes and listen. But thank you again. And without any further ado, the stage is all yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So, welcome everyone to this event that we're having this afternoon, early evening. I wanted to give you a little bit of background about the Mahali Party based on, who I am and how all this got started. For those of you who don't know about it, it's called Mahali, Mahali. It's a Kiswahili word, and it means promised land. And that's the name of the party, Mahali Party. Check us out on our website, mahaliparty.org. Learn about this. So this all got started a few years ago because, many of us have heard many of our leaders make statements like, we should have a nation, we should have our own land, and you hear them occasionally make statements like, give us X amount of states, that amount of states, things like that. Just different topics that they just randomly express during some kind of conversation that sort of fits into it. And they're almost speaking to the air. Give us this, give us that. We don't know who they're talking to, but they're asking for it. And, they made a statement that made an impact on me. They said, and to all of us are together, all of our people are organized and in a one mindset, then we can get our own nation established. So that's basically how we were all thinking. So this is how I got started. I started talking to my colleagues and said, hey, how do you feel about us forming a nation? And almost everybody I talked to said, are you crazy? No way. We don't want our own nation. We got already have our own nation. It's called America. So, it started to make me wonder, like, why is it that a lot of people I talk to have a different opinion than what the leaders tell us, that we all have to be organized, become one people. And now there were a few that said yes, but they were a minority. And I'm saying, whoa, it almost sounds like the leaders didn't really know who our people were, because these broad statements didn't really apply to at least what I encountered. So I decided to do a small, I guess, survey, like a poll, and I asked people one simple question. How do you feel about us having our own country, a nation for ourselves? Just that. That's a simple question. That question began to snowball. And for the first time ever, at least in my mindset, I was able to get a determination of how many of our people actually would support that. And it was based on, from one community, one neighborhood, expanded to, I did something like a citywide survey. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. And, the responses were quite different than I anticipated. So I decided to say, well, maybe that applies in this city. What about another city? And I went from city to city. And eventually it became a national poll. Not intended to be that way, but it turned out that way. And for the first time, we had a real number that we can actually go by. And it came out to be 35%. So, 65% of our people would just absolutely reject the whole idea. And I mean, wow. So this is almost like a contrary idea than what we've been taught by our leaders, that we all have to be in it. We all have to be in it, like we're all in or not, or we're not going to do it. So I'm like, wow, this is like, do they know this? Have they ever conducted a poll to find out whether, what was our feeling? I apologize. So with this national poll, now we had some real hardcore evidence where we really stood as a people. And so that really spun a whole slew of, we thought we had the answer. It just opened up a big can of worms of all these questions that came up. And, things like, where would this nation be located? Everyone you ask, where we should build this nation, it was always in the state that they live in. It should be in Ohio. It should be in Chicago. It should be in California, because that's where I live at. Well, that didn't make a lot of sense, because the number was only 35%. So it was a limited number. And you have to have a strategy how we're going to accomplish this. Nonetheless, we continue striving on, and eventually that poll became more of a beginning of developing an immense amount of research as to where we're going to build this nation, how we're going to build this nation, what is the best strategy to attain it, look at our options and which one benefits the most. And then, it brought up a lot of questions. But one question came up really over and over again, which really stood out, is that everyone wanted to see that nation while they were still alive. They didn't want to wait 100, 200 years. So that was a really important thing. So they wanted to make this happen in our lifetime. How are we going to do that? 35% of us. What is the strategy to make that happen? So a lot of numbers came into place. So I'll share some of them with you, not all of them, because there's quite a bit of it. But one of the key factors that we have to determine is, based on our population, which states are more suitable for us to, have convert it into a nation of our own. And the answer was actually all the states really were qualifiable. It's just a matter of timing. If you wanted to do it in your lifetime, our lifetime, then timing was based on the opposition. And I'll give you an example of what I'm referring to. So for this program to work, we have to have a majority population in a state. And right now we don't have that. Of all the 50 states, we're not a population majority. So there's some states we're close to there, but not quite. For example, the one with the highest percentage is Mississippi. Around 40% of the population is Black. So not quite there yet, but the closest to all the other states, not in actual numbers, which is about 1.1 million, but in terms of percentages of the population, 40%, it made us the greatest perspective. Because if we were to get a few of us out there, we can become a majority within the state of Mississippi. And now that equates with our timing. And what our timing means that we will have X amount of people to move to Mississippi to become 51, 55% of the population. And you can do that quicker with an opposition of 1.8, 1.7 million versus, say, Georgia. People love Georgia. A lot of our Black people like Georgia. But understand, Georgia's only 33% Black. There's a little over 10 million people living in that state. So you're going to have an opposition of almost 7 million versus 1.7, 1.8 in Mississippi. Meaning that to fulfill a great majority in the state of Georgia, it would require multi-millions of number of our people to move out there. And how long would it take us to fulfill that and create a population that it can overrun over 7 million people, which is the opposition, as opposed to 1.7, 1.8 in Mississippi. Clearly, less time in Mississippi than it would in Georgia. And so that's a quick analysis of how we selected the states, one of those factors. And then the 3 states came into the process of Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, because they were all bordering states. All 3 states were together, which gives us more land, that gives us more opportunities. So those 3 states are approximately 50,000 square miles each. And population-wise, those 3 states are about 12.5 million. Compare that to Georgia, which borders those 3 states with Alabama. Georgia has about 10 million people, a little over 10 million, and is almost pretty close in population to what those 3 states actually have in population. Meaning that if you can accomplish this in Georgia, it would take you an enormous longer amount of time, but it is attainable. Here's the kicker. But after you attain Georgia becoming a state that you control, you've only acquired 50,000 square miles. If you acquire all 3 states for almost the same population, you would have acquired 150,000 square miles. So you tripled your land space just on those principles alone. And most of us are making the decision where we should have our nation based on the notion or how our culture or societies are already in place in, let's say, LA, Chicago, other cities where we already have a presence there and where we already have a culture already in place, as opposed to going to a land that may not have that at all. And to some people, well, that doesn't make any sense. Well, yeah, it makes perfect sense. And the best way to look at it is this way. If you're going to buy a house, if you're moving from Atlanta, Georgia to, let's say, Birmingham, Alabama, even though you may not have no connections there, you can make yourself a home that's viable for yourself by getting the best deal. And what exactly is the best deal? You don't want to buy the most expensive home. The best deal is get the home that's mostly neglected, improve it, refurbish it, and make it yours, all brand new again. And that's pretty much what those 3 states are. Forget what's already there. That's not the reason we're going there. We're going there because what we're going to make out of it, what we're going to turn it into. At one time, Atlanta wasn't a great city, and now it is, and other cities just as well. We bring our knowledge, our skills, our ambition, our enthusiasm, motivation to wherever we go in those 3 particular states, and we'll make it flourish. And that's the beauty. Real estate is cheap out there, folks. If you live in the East Coast or you're living far west, it's incredibly less expensive, and you can build there and prosper far more greater than in other places which are highly developed. So there's a lot of opportunities there economically. Those are some of the factors. I'm just throwing this some at you that makes it that determination. So let's talk about a nation. What is a nation? What is a country? What do we want? We say we want our own what? Our own neighborhoods, our own communities, our own rights. What exactly do we mean? Sometimes it's kind of ambiguous of what we refer to what we want in terms of having our own. But specifically speaking, when talking about a nation, and I'm referring to a state nation, a nation which has a statehood, meaning a government, and is actually a government that is sovereign, meaning that it functions on its own without any other nation or country dictating upon it its will. Well, that are considered by law as political entities. All countries are political entities. That means that you have to have some kind of political apparatus. That nation. Nations are driven by politics, and unless it's a monarch. But outside of that, they are run by politics. So we have to consider forming a nation based on what's available to us, and that is having a political system in place. And with the politics, it's how you run a country. And the best way to explain that is look at Washington, D.C. The government never goes away. It's just managed by different parties, occasionally by Democrats, occasionally by Republicans, but it's the same government. It doesn't change. And that's the same sentiment with us having our own nation. And in this country, when it comes to the U.S. Constitution, there's really only 2 governments that are recognized by the U.S. Constitution. That's the federal government and the state government. That's it, nothing else. The federal government runs the entire nation at the federal level, and the states control everything within those states. Now, there's a conflict between them. Then, of course, the federal government guidelines and laws are the ones that prevail. But there's a lot of power within the states, an enormous amount of power that the federal government does not have, and vice versa. So when we're talking about having power and authority as a people, we've ran cities like Atlanta, Black people run those cities, and other cities, but we've never been a population majority to get elected at the state level and control all of the state elected offices like governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, secretary of state, state treasurer. These are offices that are all elected at the state level. And also you have the legislature of that state, like the state house and state senate. These are the people that are in the final authority within that state. The people that make the laws in the legislature for the state are the only laws that are applicable within that state outside of federal law. And the chief executive officers are the governor, lieutenant governors, and they are the leaders of the entire state. We've never had the privilege of actually running our own state. And that's really the most important prize. What do you think the Republicans talk about states, blue state, red states? The Democrats are always talking about these things. Besides Washington, they also are always focusing on the states, because that is where true power comes in this nation, based on this U.S. Constitution. So for us to get more power, we have to understand how power functions. And this is how it's actually put out in this country. So we have to put out some kind of program that allows us to compete. Because right now we're not doing that. We've been members of, our people started as members of the Republican Party after the Emancipation Proclamation, and they were faithful to that party. All, started to fade a little bit during the FDR administration, but it really made a big shift during the civil rights movement with JFK. And that's when they made the official switch from the red party to the blue party. And all the time that we served in the red party, we were constantly being attacked by the KKK. By the way, they were all part of the Democratic Party, the Dixiecrats. And after that, when Black people joined the Democratic Party, the KKK left the Democratic Party and joined the Republican Party, thanks to President Lincoln, Nixon, President Nixon. And everything shifted. They're doing the same thing they've been doing. It's a different parties. Black people switched along with the KKK, and it hasn't changed ever since. The same problems that we experienced since Lincoln, we're experiencing today. Same parties, different people, different versions, and we have never put ourselves in a position of power, meaning that we joined other people's parties. We joined the Republican Party that we didn't create. We joined the Democratic Party. We had no say-so of its foundation. And if you want to run a government in this country, like any other country, you better have a political party. So that's where we started our party. That's called the Mahali Party. And that pretty much gives us a better idea of what our goals are in terms as nationhood development. This month, we're celebrating the 100th anniversary of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Greenwood, where it was destroyed by people who were probably Democrats, because Black people were Republicans at that time in 1921. And we're celebrating it, because of not of what the disaster, but of their attainment, their achievements that they've made. So we have a great history, long history, should I say, of us building communities and many of them were just destroyed, just like what happened in Greenwood, Tulsa, Oklahoma. And now we have to be in a better position than we were 100 years ago. And we actually are, because we have our own political party. Political parties are critical. This is how nations function. This is how this country functions. And that's why you get the results that you get when the police kill our children in broad daylight and we have zero power. Nothing. They kill us. What do? We go run into the Democrats to help us out. Help us. Because we can't help ourselves. Because we don't have a party. Right? When something happens to the Republican parties, do they run to the Democrats? No. They go fight it out with the Democrats, and vice versa. They got their people, and the Republicans got their people. The Democrats have their own people, and they fight it out. Because that's how government works. That's how things function. We're not even in the game because we don't even have a party. So all we're doing is helping other people attain their agenda, the Democratic agenda, the Republican agenda, which they tell you this is what's good for you. Join our agenda. The Democratic Party is going to help you, but you got to help us first. It's always helping them first, and vice versa with the Republican Party. So I say all this because until we are in a position to really focus of having a party that can compete with the Republicans and the Democrats will be in the same position that we've always been, always asking other people to do for us what we can't do for ourselves. It's a nice word for that. Well, actually, it's a bad word. It's called begging, right? And we have to change that. We have to, if we really want something, you got to change. If you don't change it, guess what? You're going to get more of what you've been getting. And that's when people like many of the leaders that came around the civil rights movement, Martin Luther King, perhaps was one of the greatest of all the leaders in our people's history in the past 50, 60 years. No one's been achieved more for our people in this country than MLK. Absolutely no one. If you don't believe what I'm saying, I'll give you an example of what I'm referring to. We have 50 members, 55 members in the Black Caucus right now in Washington. They're Democrats, including Vice President Harris. And these people have been serving for over 50 years, not them personally, but throughout the 50 years, the same seats, different people, and we haven't got anything done. We can't even get the police to stop killing our people. And you've had the Black Caucus getting elected. You vote for them, and they can't stop the police from killing our people. They're still not going to stop now. And here's what one man did, Martin Luther King. He created something that, to this day, the Black Caucus cannot even match. He created the Civil Rights Act. He created the Voting Rights Act in 64 and 65, and he was never even elected in office. Wow. He did all that, and to this day, the Black Caucus has never been able to achieve greater legislation or even equal to what Martin Luther King actually accomplished. That is a big, big, I hate to say this, but it's one of the worst things you can say about the Black Caucus and the party that our people are connected to, the Democratic Party. It hasn't produced any results for us. How could this Republican, Martin Luther King, who was not even an elected official, didn't have a political party that he really was working on, and all he did was march and protest and was effective enough to get Congress to write this legislation, get President LBJ to sign the legislation, and to make it into a law? How is it that he was able to do it? And the Black Caucus, here we are 50 years into it, they can't stop your children from being killed in public by the police. That tells you a lot of what they're not doing and they haven't done, and quite frankly, will never do for you, because they're in the wrong political party. When I say wrong, I'm not talking about between the Republicans and Democrats. They need to have their own party. Okay, that's how you win in Washington, competing against each other. And we're not doing that at all until the Mahali Party. So what the Mahali Party is doing is making those changes for us so we can get the things that we need. And we're going to attain them. It's not that complicated. It's just putting the effort behind it and a lot of courage and a lot of enthusiasm. Look, these people are not super geniuses that we have to spend years and years to understand this. It's quite basic. It's just a level of dependence among us. It's beyond comprehension due to the leadership that we have in place today, the elected officials that we have today, who continue to tell you that you need them. Well, didn't we prove in 2020 that is the opposite? Do you remember when Biden was about to get kicked out of the nomination and they were about to nominate Bernie Sanders, which scared the heck out of those Democrats? So when they went to South Carolina, the Black people showed up, huge numbers, revitalized his campaign, and it was you, Black people, that got Joe Biden to the White House. And what has he done for you for giving him the White House? Not much of anything, because those Black caucus don't require anything in return for their votes. And that's exactly how the Democratic Party wants. They love the Black caucus. Every time there's a bill that has to be passed in Washington, when the Democrats create a bill, They expect all 50 of those black caucus to vote in their favor. And Pelosi said, hey, it's time to vote. And you got to go the way I want you to go. If you go against her, I'm not going to support your financial campaign. I'm not going to put you in a chairmanship. I'm not going to put you in a committee. All these things that they control. So it's not our party. It's their party. All we're there is to help them get what they want. And that's exactly what the Black Caucus has done. If they wanted to stop the police killing our people, they could have done that 50 years ago. But they refuse to do it because, no, they want that. It's part of the system. They don't mind you dying and getting killed in the streets. That doesn't bother them. It's not happening to their children. It's happening to our children. And the Black Caucus just goes along with it because they give them reasons not to do it, from financial reasons and all kind of other reasons. And they go along with it. But we're better than that as a people. We're way better than that. If MLK could do that, there's something wrong with us being in any of these people's party. And that's really the standard that we exist with at this point, surpassing the 64, 65 acts of law for getting us a right to vote and civil rights. Still has not been toppled by any Black political person in this country. And the Mahali Party is about to change all that in just one single year. And it's not that complicated, folks. It's just thinking outside of the way they think. And now that I mentioned the word thinking, we're introducing the concept of our ideology. It's called pro-Black independence. Pro-Black independence. We think independently of what these parties think and execute it. And one of the simple words to explain it is the Black agenda. That's a little bit an underestimate of what we actually do, but it's a phrase that people can understand quickly, the Black agenda. But if you think about this, when you look at all these Black cities around the country that are, when I say Black cities, cities that are predominantly Black, cities that the elected officials are predominantly Black, you find that there's no Black agenda there, even though it's ran by Black mayors, Black city council, even a Black chief of police. There's no Black agenda. Well, how's that possible? Because they're ran by a party. The party sets the goal. The party influences the ideas and what they have to put in place. So we had an election, for example. I'm going to give you an example. We had an election this past week, in Texas and also in Mississippi, but the one in Texas is quite interesting. There we had an election where you had predominantly Black districts within a city council. These were all municipal district seats that were up for grabs. And the Black districts, and I want to mention this, this is very important. The one that took place in Dallas, Texas, which has a Black mayor. The mayor is Black, okay? They used to have a Black chief of police. They got rid of her, but they do have a Black mayor. So it's basically a blue city government run by Democrats. And during the election for the Black districts, they closed some of the polls early. Some of the precincts were closed down, only in those Black districts. And what happened? The results? The incumbents all won. Wait a minute. Does that sound like the Black agenda to you? So it almost sounds like what Donald Trump was complaining about. Something fishy was going on with the Democrats. Of course, the Democrats didn't believe him. They tell him, well, he's lying. There's no evidence of any fraudulent activity taking place. But now it's affecting Black people. Black people in the city of Dallas, ran by a Black mayor, the Black Democratic Party actually used that tactic of closing down the polls in Black districts early and gave the victory to the incumbents. No one's talking about that. Is that voter fraud? Voter suppression? Absolutely. And this is in your own party that you're a member of. And no one's talking about that because it defies everything that they don't want you to know. They don't want you to know this. They don't want you to realize that you're just a element for them. You don't run the party. You don't influence its decisions. You don't make their agenda. You don't write it. You simply go along with it. And that's what we've been in the shape that we've been. And just to make things even worse, it just also coincides that in the same city of Dallas, Texas, just yesterday, another unarmed black man was killed by 2 white police officers. How coincidental. There's no black agenda, black mayor. They used to have a black chief of police. Where's the black agenda? It doesn't exist. And that's the difference between the Mahali Party and all these other parties that we have no connection to from its origins. We never founded them. We never got involved. We don't even take its actual direction, its platform. No. We're just there to support other people's ideas. And now we have our own party, the Mahali Party. So we went through the struggle of understanding the process of nation formation, like I mentioned earlier, and getting an understanding of how that should be accomplished and which states are most practical and time frame that we can achieve it. But all of this came after we decided to look at the whole picture, the big picture, and how we can get it accomplished. And a political party is critical. Just think of this. Once you have your own nation, you're going to have your own government. You're going to have your own government. You're going to have your own political party, just like every other country in the world does. Every country in Africa, every country in Europe, they all have their own political parties. So if that's the case, then we better get on starting our own party now and learning the process, become great politicians for our people. And this is a great thing. Having your own political party is the best decision that we can make since we've been living in this country in terms of giving ourselves more power. And there's much evidence throughout the world to prove what I just mentioned to you. For example, in the state of Bermuda, the country, there are black people there that are trying to get their independence. They have political parties. One of those parties that they created is a party that wants to create independence for the people of Bermuda so they can break away from England, have their own separate sovereignty away from England. And that party doesn't get much support because most of the people, black people in Bermuda, don't support the idea of having their own nation. But here's the interesting thing. That party is continuously winning the elections, even though the people don't want independence, the majority, black folks, they still keep voting for that party because they govern so well. They govern as if they were independent, separate from what all the plagues that all these other parties bring upon us. Remember, you join other people's parties, they're going to bring you problems, right? You have your own party, you solve your problems on your own. And that's the beauty of pro-independence. And I introduced that to America because we don't have that. Just like Malcolm X introduced the cultural black nationalist ideology into America. And I think it was a great idea because he said black people were not going to pick up guns and fight for independence. So we might as well accept cultural nationalism, at least get some of the benefits of being in this country. And I decided to bring in pro-independence because for the opposite reason, because we feel that we can attain our own country, our own nation, and we will in less than 10 years, actually less than 8 years from now. Yeah, we got a timeline. And in less than 8 years, we're going to form our own independent country in Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama. All three will be one state and an independent nation, not a nation within a nation, none of that stuff. A real, fully blown sovereign country. Just like Canada, you can walk between Canada and America. What divides them is politics. That border is a political border. The same thing with Mexico. You can walk between Mexico and America. It's the same landmass between Canada all the way down to Mexico. But the borders are political borders. And they're three separate countries. We'll be the fourth one, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, the nation of Mahali. You can walk from Mahali to America and even Texas. So all that is all doable through the political process without building a military to attain it. Right now, it's quite available. We go through the political process, get our people elected into office, and make these our elected officials will make the changes that we need. They're not the Black Caucus people. They're not into the indoctrination of the Democrats or the Republicans. We have our own ideology. We know how do we attain it and how to help our people attain it with us, because we're one. I'm going to give you an example of how we begin this process. It begins on the 24th of August this year, 2021. We have an exact date, August 24th. Mark that date. What's going to happen? You're going to see for the first time the first steps to forming our own independent country right here in Alabama, August 24th. What's going to happen then? The elections. We're running for city council and also mayor. We're going to take over a few cities there politically, and we're going to do something that our people have never, ever seen in their lives. We're working with organizations like the Black Panthers and organizations just like themselves who call themselves Second Amendment organizations, Black organizations. They've been with our people for decades, and they want to serve our people, and they do it for absolutely free. And we're going to get them involved in those cities in Alabama on August 24th when we get elected, and we're going to bring in our people. We're going to take over. They're going to be the majority of the city council. They're going to have the mayor's position, the Mahali Party. The mayor is then going to replace the chief of police with one of our people. That's right. One of our people, not a Democrat, not a Republican, one of our people. And we're going to bring into those police departments our own polices. Who are they? People like the Black Panthers, people who are Second Amendment rights, Black people who have been patrolling us for decades for free. And we actually took a poll, right, to find out this would actually work. 90% of all Black people feel like and trusted these organizations more so than the current police department that they live in with today. Doesn't matter if the police officer is white, Black, or Hispanic, they trust them less than they trust Black Panthers and organizations like them. They've earned our trust. They have a track record. You compare their track record versus the current police department's track record, it's a no-brainer. That's why 90% of our people support them. And that is going to happen on the 24th of August. Wow, that's real quick. It doesn't take forever to get these changes. So what's going to be different is you'll notice something. In addition to having those police officers, you'll notice something that is quite unique. And is that for the first time in this country, you're going to see a city that has been usually ran by Republicans or Democrats. It will no longer be Democrats or Republicans. It's going to be an actual city government ran or governed by the Mahali Party. Now, that's brand new. The Mahali Party will be governing its own cities. And that's the first step to taking over politically and forming a country. We go through the election cycle. 2021 Alabama, it's municipal elections. 2022 will be congressional seats and also state offices. And as you go on through the process, you go from city to county to state level. State level is the highest level. Once you control all the elected officials at the state level, you have a right to make your decision at the state level to form your own nation. Why? Because your majority legislature, the state house, the state senate, will write the laws into action, and to write the actual bills. And the governor, also a member of the Mahali Party, will sign that bill into law. Wow, is that all it takes? Yeah, that's all it takes. You don't have to go to Washington and protest and beg for money, beg for states, or none of that stuff. You can create your own nation, your own freedom. This is all constitutionally correct. This is all the guidelines of this country. Isn't that what took place in the 1860s when they created the Confederate nations? Isn't that what took place? Same thing. Yeah, that's exactly. They'd have to go to Washington to become a nation. They formed their own nation. Now, the difference between them and us is that they wanted to fight a war. That's them. That's their problem, not ours. So we have to have the measures and we have to have the desire to attain these. And it's all, every bit of it's attainable. And I'm going to go backward here a few steps to the first steps of nation formation in Mississippi, Louisiana, and Alabama. August 24th, Alabama gets into place. You're going to see a government ran like you've never seen before. For the first time in Alabama, Black people in the Black cities that we're going to, who are predominantly Black, they're going to, for the first time, experience first-class citizenship. It sounds bizarre, considering that's a Black city, majority Black. They've never been treated as first-class citizens. They will under the Mahali Party. It's the first time it's going to happen. And you have a police department that you can trust, that will preserve your children. And that's the purpose of the police, to serve and protect. For the first time, we will experience that in Alabama this summer. And this will be an outcry to all Black people to come home. Come home to the 3 states that were forming a nation, and they will begin to see with their own eyes what everybody's been talking about. It's going to be a time of rejoicing to see an actual safe city, a city that our people can come to without the reprisal of this nation. All the issues that they've brought upon us against our will and have continued to do that for decades. And there is no solution. They refuse to solve this problem because you know why? Because they're the ones that are causing the problem. So what do we ask the people that cause the problem to fix it? It makes no sense. Asking Democrats to fix what they've created, or the Republicans to do the same. That's why we get no results. We got to create our own solutions, and it's quite doable. And many of our people are quite qualified to do this position, to provide that for us. We're just overlooking them because the Democrats tell you, oh, don't you put those Black Panthers in the police department. That's a bad thing to do. Yeah, it's real bad for them, not for us. It's a great thing for us because we can trust them. We can't trust their police officers, GOP or Democratic police. We can't trust them. We can't even trust their chief of police. Every time they kill one of our children, what's the first thing they do? They hide the videos. They hide the videos, and then sometimes it'll take weeks before you see the videos. Why is not anybody talking about the fact that those videos are being edited, being tampered with? I've never heard anybody talk about that. So you just accept a video that's been sitting around for 2 weeks, and they show you, oh, look, there's no evidence that the police or anything did wrong. Why? Why does it take 2 weeks for them to release those videos? Not one Democrat brings that up as a discussion. Because you don't want to bring that up. That would cause too much suspicion. We don't want that coming to the Democratic Party. So all this shenanigan that they have been putting upon us is going to be over in Alabama, August 24th, an important day. We talk about Juneteenth. We talk about all these days. Juneteenth did not create what we're about to do on August 24th. That's a day to celebrate, folks. A big celebration. When you see Black cities taken over by Black people, Black political party, and being policed by the Black Panthers, I guarantee you it will be a national celebration from our people to see anything like that. And the beauty of it all, it's all doable. It's not complicated. It just takes effort, determination, and have a complete truth within your heart and knowing that this is doable. If you can believe and live with the horror and terror that we live under today, it would not be difficult for you to attain something that I just mentioned. I don't believe in pie in the sky. I'm a practical person. Everything we do is practical. It's got to be doable. It's got to be understandable and have an opportunity of it to compel our people to want to do it. And that's exactly what the Mahali Party focus on. Things that are practical, things that make sense, things that we can do without anyone's help. Remember, you're the one that got Joe Biden elected to the White House. He can't win it without your votes. But did you know that we can win without the Democratic Party? As a matter of fact, that's the only way we can win. Democratic Party causes all the problems. We will win greatly. The Black agenda, you don't have to beg anyone to give you a Black agenda. You will have your own Black agenda, August 24th, without asking one single Democrat to make it happen. How about that? That's the power that we have. Our votes do count. We've just been giving our votes away to the wrong people. Our votes are powerful, and we're going to use it and exercise it to empower ourselves. On August 24th of this year, 2021, we promise in our party platform will be the year of the safe cities. That's the platform of the Mahali Party. I urge you to go to our website, mahaliparty.org, and review our platform. It's going to seem like something you've never heard of. That item of safe city does not even exist in the Democratic Party that many of our people uphold. Why would a party that is facing so many issues, our people being killed, does not have that on their platform? In 2020, when we ran candidates for office, we made a special issue about the police, stopping the police from killing our people. And at that time in 2020, the Democratic Party had 13 items on their platform. Not one of those items dealt with stopping the police from killing our people. And this summer, you saw what our people did, march ongoing all summer long, and they never added it to their platform in 2020. So why do we keep depending on the people that have no interest in solving your problems? And the answer is, they're the ones who cause the problem. It's that simple. And we have to solve it on our own. And my brothers and sisters, it's not hard to solve. We don't need their money. We don't need anything from them. All we need is our vote. The vote will change everything. We'll secure the lives of our children, the ones that are being killed. After Chauvin got convicted, 3 people were killed just about 2 days apart after his conviction, one in the same day that he got convicted. And after that, there was another one that was taken into the hospital for being shot 7 times. And after that, 2 more have been killed, including one last night. This is in less than 2 weeks. All of these Black people are being killed. This is true retaliation for the Chauvin conviction. They want you to let you know that we don't care how you convict us or how many times you convict us, we're not going to stop what we're doing. And there's nothing to stop them. Biden is not stopping them. Harris is not stopping them. No one is stopping them. Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, no one. And our Black elected officials do not have a clue, because everything they do, they have to ask to get it done. They don't do anything on their own. Give an example of this. In Jackson, Mississippi, we have a Black mayor, a city that's 82% Black. When it comes to how the police handle our people, he cannot even solve that problem. He's gone to the point where he's actually has asked for assistance from other municipalities, cities outside of his own district, and have their officers help him. At least a total of 4 or even 5 jurisdictions outside of his district are providing their police officers to help them. And guess what? The problem still isn't solved. It's still going on. It's a complete mess. So this will all change with the Mahali Party. And the reason that the party is going to change it because the type of party that it is pro-independence. We function as independent people, aside from all these issues that we're facing, and we can solve this on our own, as we always have. And the reason that this is so critical, this policing from our people who are completely committed to us, people that you don't have to question whether they're committed to our people because they have proven it through their service for the past 50 years or longer, such like Black Panthers, they make the difference, and we need them. Because it doesn't matter what city that we create, like they did in Tulsa, Oklahoma in 1921, if you cannot protect it, it wasn't worth it. What was the point? And we have to protect our city. We got to protect the lives of our people. We have the wherewithal to do it. We have the resources to achieve this. But it's up to us to put it into action. You don't come and ask the people that caused the problem to solve it for you. Matter of fact, you run away from them and solve it on your own because they're the ones you got to stop. They're the ones that are causing the problems. It's not us, it's them. So the Mahali Party is a blessing because of the fact of his position, his political position of Black pro-independence. Something that is a term that's not very common yet, but it will become common. And remember that term, Black pro-independence. That means Black people want their own country, their own sovereign nation. We don't want to be ruled or governed by any other people but ourselves under our own land. Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. We'll make our own country, just like Japan doesn't tell America how to run the country, or Mexico doesn't tell America how to run its country. Likewise with our nation, Mahali, which means promised land. You have to be able to put yourself in a position to govern yourself. If you don't, others will govern you. And we've had plenty of experience on that. We don't want to be governed, particularly by these people. Remember, these people are the same people that brought our ancestors here from another country. These are the same people that put our people into captivity for 250 years. These are the same people that created Jim Crow. And these are the same people that are killing your children on the street. It's the same people. So why do we pretend like it's a whole different set of people? No, it's the same folks. Why do you think they're going to change? You want them to change? Can you change them? Hasn't history proven that that's delusional? It's who they are. And as long as they're in power, nothing is going to change. And as long as we depend on them, it'll only get worse because we refuse to become an independent nation. Not all of us, 35% of us are ready. So this is your message for you, 35%ers. You're about 18 million strong. We need about 6 million of you to move to Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, become a political majority. In less than 8 years, we become a nation. Simple plan. It's not complicated. And the good thing is, with that nation, I talked about the politics and how this is going to be attained politically. But remember, politics is all encompassing. It does include economy, commerce, all of that has to be in place, education, the whole gamut of life. And that's the beauty of the Mahali Party, that its commitment is to all aspects of who we are so we can flourish everywhere in those 3 states. And our commitment is about attainment, a commitment to achieve our goals. We're going to have this nation. We're going to accomplish it. It begins on the 24th day of August of 2021, the very first steps. And you are privileged to see what our people are about to attain on that date. I guarantee you, This is something you want to record. It's going to be historical. I know we made 1921 Greenwood, Tulsa, Oklahoma historical. This is a new history, a new direction from 1921. 2021, they will not bomb us. They will not destroy our property. They will not kill our people. We are going to protect it. That's amazing. And that's what we've always wanted. So we can be a people that can grow and expand ourselves, expand all that we have to offer to each other as a people. And no one can stop that. Absolutely no one. We trust the Black Panthers. We trust them with our lives. Just to think about it. Which police officer would you put your life on? Who do you want to show up when you call the police? The GOP, the Democrat police, or the Black Panther police officer? 90% of us said, I choose the Black Panther police officer, and I trust them to anything that comes out of these current police departments. And that's it. We have the solution. We're just not putting the pieces together. Come on, folks. You want peace? You want your children to live from all this police killing? It's a simple solution, and it's up to us to attain it. I tell my friends that when we go run for office in August in Alabama, and we are running as a pro-independence party, meaning we want to form our own country, and that's what we told you. Approximately 35% of our people even support that idea. However, on August 24th, those who don't support the idea of having our own independent nation are going to vote for a pro-independence party candidate. Not because we're pushing independence, because we're giving them safety. We're corralling our people to protect the lives of their children, something that they cannot attain on their own through the parties that they're connected to. Those people, I don't care how blue they are, they're going to vote Mahali because their kids come before the Democratic Party. The lives of their children comes before the Democratic Party. And they want them alive. And that's what the Mahali Party offers. Don't be fooled by those Democrats telling you that we're going to improve accountability. We're going to give them convictions. Our people are not interested in accountabilities, meaning we want to hold them accountable after they put your child in the grave. We're not interested in putting our children to the grave. We're not interested in giving them long sentencing. We're not interested in long sentencing for killing our child. We want our child alive. That's what the Democratic Party offers. They're offering you death. They're telling you, we will kill your child, but here's the but. We're going to hold the cop accountable, and we're going to sentence them with a long sentence. Why would you even vote for that? You vote to keep your child alive. That's what the Mahali Party is about. Life, our people, keeping them alive, not in terror, not in constant taking their lives away, but in peace and having life in a way of abundance. So your children can have children, and their children's children can do the same. That is being taken away with. Those people who are being killed, some were very young, never had an opportunity to even have children, and some who have had children, there's been an interruption in their lives because we are being taken by this blue party that tells us we are going to honor the death of your child. We could care less about honoring the death of our child. We want to honor their lives. They would never accept that deal for their children, but they want you to accept death for your child as a way of bringing honor. How horrible, that party of death to our people. We have to be smarter than this. We have to be able to look beyond all the lies that they bring upon us. And our people are practical. They know what's going on. So on August 24th, even those who are committed to the Democratic Party can see beyond that. They experience it firsthand. They know what it is, and they don't want any part of that. That's not a solution to them. I don't care if Biden's in the office. I don't care who's Obama, whatever he's doing. It's not more important than keeping their children alive. And none of those people, none of those parties can provide that. Only your party can do that, the Mahali Party. That's what we're bringing in. The people that will protect us. People like the Black Panthers who are committed to our people and have a track record of more than 50 years proving that that's what they're about. And we have been told to run away from the only people that can preserve our lives. How evil is that? That the Democratic Party has been teaching that and wanted to lock away the people that are willing to protect us. That's their evil plan. And that's why on August 24th, those Democrats who are hard Democrats, they're going to be voting for the Mahali Party candidates. They have no choice. Their children must live. And this is the only way it's going to happen. There's no other option in America outside of what the Mahali Party is delivering. The good news is there's a solution. That's the great news. That's a real, real solution. And I just look forward to that day because what it's going to produce is going to preserve our people's lives, but it's going to do something to our people that we haven't experienced. Having trust in us governing ourselves. For the first time, we can trust ourselves to govern ourselves. And that's something that money cannot buy. You can control your own destiny and do better governing yourself than what anyone can do by governing you. Anyone, Black nation, white nation, Asian nations, Hispanic nation, any nation, you can do better by governing your own self. And that's where you come with pride. That's where patriotism comes from. And we will defend our people and our nation because it's who we are. It is exactly who we are. And it is the inheritance of our children. So from generation to generation, they will preserve it. And they will have their own home. And their whole idea and their culture will survive from generation onto generation. This is what a nation is. And this is what we're attaining. Like I mentioned before, it takes a political process to attain this. That's why voting is critical, so we can achieve greatness for ourselves. All of us have that opportunity. Each one of us have that opportunity. All we got to do is participate, vote Mahali Party. Hi, Ms. Omega. I'm sorry. You had some questions for me, or don't know if I've expanded my time. No? Okay. I don't hear her, so I guess it's a no. So having said that, I would like for those who are listening to pass that information to your friends and family. Go to mahaliparty.org so you can learn more about the party, more than what I've expanded.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say, no, you haven't extended your time. You have questions. And so people are, they're like, "Hey, can we get some answers to some of these
Oh,
questions?" So
I didn't
I've
know there
been
were questions.
writing them down.
Okay.
Um, yes, yes. Uh-huh. I've been writing them down so we can get a couple of them really good ones. Guy Nollywood Jr. Actually stated earlier. There I go. I couldn't see myself, so I don't know if I was fidgeting. But Guy Nollywood Jr. brother Guy, he wanted to know why isn't Mississippi already controlled by blacks if they have the majority of the state?
Politics. So remember that everything in this country is run by politics. Just like what's happening in Washington with the Black Caucus is happening at the city level. So the ideology of the Democratic Party, the ideology of the Republican Party is what governs this nation. Those cities are run by a city government, and their party affiliation is what creates the guidance, the direction of those particular party and how they execute laws and the ordinances that they create. And that's why there's no black agenda in a city in Jackson, Mississippi, that's 82% black. It's a white agenda. It's not our party. The black agenda doesn't exist in Washington. It doesn't exist in the state level, the county level, or the city
And
level.
absolutely. Yes. You know, we have so many fire comments. I'm going to drop the link. If anyone come speak with Jay community to come on up and group who have um MX Media Group, you should join us. It's totally free. Or if you I am. Um as I am as well. So Wisdom said something very profound, and I think it was an absolute mic drop moment. He said we can't is as long as source of, let me put this right in here so it's up on this, as part of livelihood is very system that enslaved our foreparents. Our lives will be misery from one generation. If that quote, I don't know what is. And you know what I thought? So Dr. Umar Johnson was on the Breakfast Club. I believe it was about 2 weeks ago, if that. And when he was off the show, the next day, no, I'm sorry, he was done with his interview. They had a call in for people to talk about how they felt. Sorry about to talk with people about how they felt about the interview. I didn't. I felt like if the call in should have been while he was there still in the there to see. No, guys, let me qualify my hair. Was this so many people that had real issue with his on eating? And here's why. And mind you, I have very, dear my family that are married interracial. But how is how is it that we culture can think that someone can be pro black but not engaging in practices? This it blows my mind. And so I thought about that when you uh, about one in independent activity. They want to be, taking for outside independence or Black independent statehood, they but they're interested in independence. If you can share some insight into that mentality. What is that? Is that just another condition? Is that another of that's community and a culture, or is this something that is like a defense mechanism? So I'm going to while you certificate or while you clarify uh,
Okay. Yeah, that's a good question.
some of those concerns.
It's okay. So, historically, I mean, we can go back to the 15th century and answer that question real quickly. In the late 1500s, 16th century, in the late 1500s, in Brazil, when Black people were brought there, there's a movie about this, and you can even look at the movie. It's called Quilombo, Quillimbo, Quilombo. It's a Brazilian word. When you watch that movie, it tells you that the answer is right there. So basically, the Black people arrived there as slaves. They were just got off the boat, and they decided to take over the slave master, took over the land, killed all the white people that were on the boats and took their ships. And then the Black people had to make a choice. So what do we do now? We're in this strange land. We don't know where we are. And a group of them, actually the smaller group, they said, we're going to get back on that ship. We're going back home. We don't know how we're going to get there, but we're going to go. And they went back to Africa. And then there was the other group said, well, we're going to stay here because we don't know where we are, and we better do the best we can out of this place. But we're not going to live with those white people, the ones that brought us here. We're going to form our own separate community. And that pretty much depicts, in a very simple way, how we are as a people. Contrary to what we've been taught by a lot of our leaders, particularly in the 20th century, it's a 20th century concept that we were indoctrinated to become slaves. That's all 20th century ideology. You can't even find that before that time frame from our scholars and our leadership. It's something that people have always accepted, and for whatever reason, they've made those decisions. Simultaneously living with each other in the same place under the same captivity. There was always been a group of us that wanted to go to Africa, and a group of us that wanted to form our own country, and then the vast majority just went along. And it hasn't changed since we got on this land for the first time to this day. It's not indoctrination. These are people, grown folks making grown decisions. This is a decision that they made. They may not like it, but you can't get them out of it. They know what a country is. They live in a country. They know what independence is. Al Sharpton is a perfect example. A few years ago, he went to Bermuda to campaign on behalf of Black people in Bermuda so they can have their own, so they can become a country. Asking Black people they were having a referendum where Black people were to vote. Do you want to make Bermuda your own independent nation? And he went to campaign on behalf of that pro-independence party, saying, yeah, you want to make Bermuda a Black nation. There's no reason for us to be under the British government. Yet when he comes over here, he becomes integrationist. Same guy, same Al Sharpton, doesn't mention a peep about forming a country for us here. So it's not an indoctrination. These are grown people making grown decisions. They've always been that way. And to give you even more understanding of what I'm saying, just think about the country of Africa. Africa is one continent. It's got 52 different nations in there because people have different perspectives. Okay. And that's not a bad thing. That's actually a good thing. However, there's a group of us that, I call them 65 percenters, that this is where they want to be. And, who are we to tell them that they have a right, that they should give up their rights? It's like us telling them, rather them telling us that we should give our rights or desire to become a nation. We know what we want. I'm sure they know that what they want. So I know in the 20th century, our leaders kind of demonize those people, calling them names, all kind of names, but it's an unnecessary issue because it's what they want. They're not Uncle Tom. They're not sellouts. They are who they are, and we have to accept that. And that's not a bad thing, just because we don't want to be there doesn't mean that it's that they have to leave with us. I don't want to go to Africa. A lot of people say we have to go to Africa. Well, I don't share that sentiment. So I think we all have that right to choose for ourselves. We're grown people. We make grown choices. We know what we're living under. And if they want to die for this country and fight wars for them, and in their heart, that's where they are, then who are we to tell them otherwise? And vice versa, them against us. So I know it's a little different thinking than what we've been taught by a lot of our leaders. I used to believe we were all indoctrinated. They made us into slaves. Like, what is this? So people know where they stand. They just make choices, and the choices are not that we don't all share the same choices. And the fact that we have different choices doesn't make one worse than the other. I hope it answered your question. Any other questions? I guess she's on the chat. But that's a very common question that you hear from our people because we've been told a whole lot of stuff. That's just, I mean, that didn't come up. That question was never, that issue never came up during the times of Nat Turner, that Marvisi. That was never an issue. Even during Benjamin Singleton's time, that was never an issue. They didn't demonize Black people because they didn't make the choices they made. They didn't refer to them as Uncle Toms or any degrading term at all. They just saw them as people that had a different point of view, and that's it. That's all it is. They didn't, pretty much spend any time with them. And the irony is that the people that were turning them in were the 65 percenters, right? They were the one that was telling the slaveholders what was going on. But there was no, outside of that in itself, there's no documentation in history that there was this campaign against them, because of their views. Unless, of course, it impinged on the freedom of those who wanted freedom. Any other questions?
Now, we did have another question, JL.
Okay.
Yes, we had another one. It was mentioned by Brother Palmetto that Tulsa, Oklahoma was actually winning on the ground by Black war veterans against the racists, but the fight was lost when farmers used irrigation planes to drop bombs on the city. Without getting too detailed about operators, is there a plan to counteract any aerial warfare?
Absolutely. So, yeah, of course. That's part. Isn't that what the police do? Don't they chase you down the freeway when you're trying to get away? So all those resources will be available to them once they're in the police department. That answers your question. So it's no different. What they've used to attack us, we'll use it to defend us. It's probably a better way of looking at it. So whatever equipment or weapons that they have used against us will not be used to defend us, because those resources don't belong to them. So if you, and just to give it a different view, so if you use an aircropter today to attack us, many police departments have choppers. Some of them are not extensive choppers. Some of them, but nowadays some of them are kind of militarized. Some of the choppers, and some of them even have tanks. Believe it or not. So if that police department has the resources, guess what? The chief of police is Mahali Party. It's available to us. That's a big difference. And I'm going to go further on that to expand on that. remember, these elections are going by cycles. So, right now we're in the municipal cycle in 21, 22. We'll probably go into the county cycle. At that time, we'll be doing the same thing we did in 21 and taking over politically in virgin cities. There'll be counties. And those counties, in terms of law enforcement, that's under the sheriffs. We'll replace them just as well. Whatever resources the sheriffs have, will have. The wardens for the prisons will have. Prosecutors will have. Local judges will have. So, we're going through the progression of cycles to election cycles to take over politically, and even at the state level. So, at the county, you have the sheriff and marshals under your control, and the local police. So if you even increase your protection, and then we get at the state level, then you have, what you call the National Guard, the State National Guard, and the Commander in Chief of State National Guard is the governor that will be on the Mahali Party. So now you have your State National Guard at the state level, you have your state troopers, you have your marshals, you have your sheriffs, and you have your police department. Your state is completely protected. And when I say National Guards, the different branches of National Guards. For example, in Mississippi, we have the Naval National Guard. There's a Navy base out there. Also in Alabama, and actually Mississippi, they have naval bases, they got Army bases, and they have Air Force bases, all National Guards, which the Commander-in-Chief are the governors of those states. So, what was against us will now be for us.
So, and that's a great way to condense that, but very we need to know that. I think that it needs to be stated or shared or understood. Probably the best term to use there is that the same training that others have used against us, we will also be able to have trained individuals in these same regards. So this is very, very key. And my father is rather a U.S. Air Force vet. And so, and that should be also mentioned as well, that this is where when we talk about the gatekeepers and the people that we have been expecting to lead our communities, and sometimes their pushback or their response is that the younger generation doesn't rely on them to do that, or they don't expect for them to do that. I think that this is time that they absolutely stand up and take that leadership role. We have many trained aerial and people into the aero science even fields, and it's a real disconnection. I think I was very fortunate because of the fact that I did go to an HBCU, but these gems are very much hidden. That's why I love that movie Hidden Figures. This is true. They're very much hidden in their societies and in their infrastructure, but they definitely reduce us from having access to them. Because if we had that type of tutelage, that type of leadership readily available, it changes the ball game. So they realize that leadership and those skill sets are very much within our culture. But as long as they can keep us from realizing it, that's the key. Blind Guy, his wife, their life has a question. She says, what can we do on a day-to-day basis with or without representation? Any suggestions for navigating general activities?
What kind of representation are you talking about? Talking about political representation? I'm not sure what
she's saying. Without having a political presence or political or just without having that type of leadership in place.
Right.
What can we do individually to navigate the system?
Well, this is a world. We live in a world. There's almost 200 nations. Every nation is run by a political entity, except for monarchs. Those are your options. So if to answer your question, the way we're living, it's not going to stop. We're living like we have no political power, and that's the reason we're experiencing it. I know we've been taught from some people that politics is evil and bad and all that kind of stuff. That applies to everything and everyone. It depends the intent. Systems don't run anything. System is just an apparatus like a hammer. A hammer can build a house or it can knock your head out and kill you. It's how you use that hammer. It's a tool. And the political systems are in place. You can use the same political system that these Democrat Republicans have and make it grow to your benefit. It's a tool. It's all it is. The system can't run itself. People run the system. And the problem is the people, not the system. So
that's absolutely so true. I want to welcome to the room African Unite Force. This is a dear sister of mine. She just moved back to the motherland from Moscow, so she is still enjoying her her repat back home. So welcome to the room, sis. It's an honor to have you here with us today. And I know you had a live earlier. I definitely am going to catch the Play Black, and we're going to continue to build. Had a great time on her channel a couple of months back, and she was on mine. Would love to have you at the new platform, sis, coloredonlycafe.com. Let's get to a couple of last questions. We're starting to heat up in here, as always happens after we've been in here for a minute. That's when everybody starts pouring in, but that's fine. So a blind guy, which is actually the wife, his wife, their life. She did follow up with the question in regards to your last statement, JL. And she says, I asked because I agree that we are living as though we have no political power. So while we're here, what else can we do to stop being marginalized daily? What can we do to stop being marginalized daily?
There's only one answer.
I have some suggestions too, but
sure,
you answer first.
You want me to go first? Okay. You put this in perspective. The world is functions through the political process. It's not a bad thing. It's actually a very good thing. By the way, it's a concept created by Black people. White people didn't create this concept. They used it against us, and it's a smart idea because one person or a very small group of people really can't accomplish much. So you need a big group of people working together. That's what we call political parties. Ideas, are put together, and then the whole body pushes to make it happen. The problem is that we've been neglected or kicked out of those parties as far as making the actual changes within the parties. The way you get it done is that you have to have a set of ideas that everybody corrals around. And the problem is that our ideas have never been founded in any party. So there's no big group of people around what ideas are. We'll find with everything that we consider to be our ideas are other people's ideas. We didn't originate them. We didn't write them out. It's not our platform that we created. And so, if some guy says, we need healthcare, then guess what? All of a sudden, I guess I need healthcare. Or we need, something for all. I don't know, education for all, free education. Just whatever ideas that they generate, which no Black person came up with those ideas, okay? And we're like, I guess we need that. We need to do that. You're there to push their agenda. That's your only purpose in their party and nothing else. And when you have your agenda, guess what? You fight for your agenda. And it sounds so natural because it's what you want. It's really not that complicated. We want the police to stop killing for us. All right, how do we do that? Start a party, join the Mahali Party, and you watch. and vote for Mahali Party candidate, and you watch how we can solve this problem in 4 months. It's that simple to solve. It's not complicated.
So I think we're definitely speaking the same language. And Blind Guy, his wife, their life, sister, I know as many of us do not like to hear this, but when you say, what can we do without proper representation? Sis, you got to be the proper representation. That's honestly what you have to do. You know, there are many positions of leadership that do not require you to declare you don't have to commit or contribute a certain amount of money to your campaign. There are different ways to put yourself in positions of representation without being totally political. The Brother Wisdom mentioned King Randall, which again is going to be a guest, one of our most esteemed guests at Claim Malcolm X Day here in Atlanta, Georgia on May 19th, 2021, which is Malcolm X's birthday. He will be a guest here with us. But he did mention that on our interview. He said, hey, I don't want to run. I don't have plans. When I was younger, I used to want to, become a mayor, that sort of thing. But the older that I got and the more work that I actually started to do in the community, I realized that I was making that change by doing this boots on the ground effort. So I want to say this to you in regards to that it may not be an interest of you to say, hey, I'm going to see what school board positions are open, or I'm going to see, what local, local clerk's office positions are open. There are a lot of positions that are very influential that you wouldn't believe that you never see a big campaign for. Everybody always thinks of the big ones, the president, the mayor, the governor, that sort of thing. As I was stating, and this will also be in an upcoming book. We have a lot of great announcements that we're going to be sharing and networking with on May 19th. But there'll be an announcement about my upcoming book. But just to give a little bit away from it, there are a lot of areas, a lot of opportunities to lead that we're not necessarily engaged with. And one of the most surprising things that I share in the book is that in some places, you don't have to have a Juris Doctorate to run to be a judge. In some cities, in some counties rather, you don't have to have a Juris Doctorate, which means, like everybody thinks, to be a judge, you had to have been a lawyer before. No, because in some places you can pass the bar without presenting a Juris Doctorate. You can take the bar without presenting a Juris Doctorate or proof thereof. So we some of these opportunities we really talk ourselves out of. Maybe there is not a genuine, and when I say that, it's not a slight to anyone, but there's not a real genuine interest in walking that line, because trust me, as a former elected official, I can share with you, it is absolutely not all cafecitos and peppermints on that dais. There's definitely a lot of BS that gets pushed around. And as I stated before, the loneliest place for a Black woman to be is single on the dais. There's a lot of BS that goes on. A lot of things that definitely affect the mental. But I will say this: I am glad for the experience. I am absolutely just honored to have had this opportunity to have even been on the ballot. I was on the ballot with the mayor. So to just be on the ballot and then to go from that to actually be able to assure a seat on the council was absolutely, it was one of the proudest moments in my life, and I'm a mom of two, but it was definitely one of the most proudest moments of my life. But so I'm glad to have had the experience. And when I share this information, I share it from a place of love and a place of appreciation for that opportunity that the divine, the ancestors, and the Most High, saw me fit to serve. That's a huge honor, to be fit to serve. But again, I understand the perspective on the other side. But what I want more of us to do is embrace this knowledge of knowing that my mom used to have a saying, and I'm gonna keep it real funky on this Cinco de Mayo because my mom's birthday is tomorrow, so it's gonna be Cinco de Mama, says the mama tomorrow. But she had a great saying, and she would always say, "You can't clean shit if you don't touch it." And too many of us do not want to touch the shit. But we've got to, and if that means, hey, I've got to go to this school and put my child in this school in order to be, in order to become the aggressive activist that I need to make sure that this school is getting their proper representation and they're getting someone that has a seat at the table, then that may be what it has to do. I know I have peers that say they don't believe that. They don't feel like they should have to endure that type of discomfort. But again, there is no way you're going to care as much about it without experiencing it. That's just the way it goes. And that's why I said I can see both sides of it, because even as an elected official, I faced an eviction. So do you think that without me facing an eviction, that would have made me that much more of a land advocate? Because that's what started to weigh on my head. I'm like, here I am evicted from a property that, was built by Black people. And I bet if these Black people were still living, they would absolutely not appreciate the fact that someone was being uprooted from their home, a family uprooted from the home that they built, knowing that they couldn't live forever. But here's someone now that didn't even share their background or their culture, owned their property, and was uprooting a Black family from the property. Mm-hmm. You can't tell me that this lovely couple would have been comfortable with that. And so, but that never dawned on me prior to experiencing an eviction. And so the things that I go through, I've always said to people, I'm learning, of course, every day, a student of life. But at this age, I don't question anything because I know it's a lesson for something. And I think that too many of us are too comfortable with being, as African Unite Force said once, just being second class citizens, even third class. We're too comfortable there that we can't even muster up that ammunition to say, hey, I'm going to, get out of here. We get comfortable with that and say, that's not, the other thing is not my fight, but you don't realize you're in the fight. And it's the number one thing I love to hear people say when they say, I'm not into politics. And I say, do you have a child in school? Yeah. Do you pay taxes? Of course. Then you're into politics. Because guess what? Politics are into you. Okay, they're into your bank account. They're into your wallet. They're into your child's curriculum. They are even telling you what you need to pay to get to what you need to pay to get from point A to point B if you have a car. Yeah, that's my third question too. Do you drive? Yeah, of course. Then you're into politics. You're into politics. All right. So you have to become it. You have to become it. You have to become it. We have to become it. We have to become more comfortable with that. We have time for one more question. Let me see who has, any questions? Okay, I don't see any more here. Okay, wisdom. The problem has always been the people who have the power, but instead have been leading against itself. Okay, again, I'm going to yield the mic. I'm going to let you respond to that statement, JL, and I'm going to respond, and then following after that, absolutely, we're going to reserve the last couple of minutes for your closing statement. This has been such an engaging conversation. JL, and I would like to, if you wouldn't mind, after you respond to this, give me some of your background and how you became just so interested. Were your parents like this? Because it's very impressive to me that you see you're so well spoken on these strategies. And like I said, I grew up in a political family. My grandmother, was a two-time commissioner, two-time mayor. My sister is a campaign, coordinator here in Austell. I am a former elected official. And when I tell you there's some terms that you use and some statements that you make, I'm just like, yeah, I never thought about it like that. So after you respond to that statement, and again, that statement was, the problem has always been the people who have the power, but instead have been leading against itself. What is your response to that statement?
Yeah, and the issue is that it goes back to parties. So we haven't had our own party, and that's why when we join other people's party, they want to represent us, but the party doesn't. So you're fighting your own party to serve your people, and guess who wins? You're one out of thousands of people. The party always wins, and that's the unfortunate for us. So it's really the lesson. The lesson is start your own party. Get your own party. That everybody in your party, no matter who joins, they have to follow your agenda because you created it. Yeah, that's it. You can have white people in our party and they got to fulfill what we want because it's our agenda. If they don't like it, they can go to another party, right? But I'm just letting you
They're
know
gonna have to
that.
go to another one. Absolutely.
Yeah, create your own party, have your own agenda.
Well, that's period. The reason why I think our politicians, particularly our elected officials, become so easily used is because we are not supported well. That's the bottom line. We are not. We're not supported well. That's why I said when I went into the room and I experienced the members of Mahali, first of all, before I even came to a room, one of your biggest supporters and advocates for the party is always a loyal patron of my colored only cafe. So he already had me just, like, okay, I'll come check the party out because he's always like, he's just he's like a one-man commercial for colored only cafe. When I get our guest spot together, he definitely is going to be a spokesperson. But to see that the rest of the party exhibited that the members were very welcoming and very engaging, and just who would know, who knew, but just you all had a lot of very prominent people that were just talking to each other like we're just sitting out by the beach somewhere, and I love that feeling. Uh, our experience.
I can't hear anything.
Sorry about that, but yes, it seems like what happens is we become very satisfied with just thinking we're not going to be part of these conversations, or uh, we're not going to be necessarily taken seriously. So we might as well take crumbs. We might as well take crumbs. That's exactly That's all that we're going to get. And to be offered the whole cake, it's overwhelming. And this is really what happens. It becomes overwhelming that we're offered the whole cake. And so, but so many of us, too many of us, have been we we've sold out each other over crumbs. Because like I said, I've seen it. I've been on the dais and I've seen people say, some of those same council members, we've got to fight to defend this community. Things they say things like over my dead body. And then when we're in our little, when we're off the dais and we're in our little group meetings and we're discussing what the next agenda for the next council meeting is going to be, they're taking private calls from Coldwell Baker. Coldwell Baker ain't calling me. Coldwell Baker ain't calling me. So why are you getting private calls from Coldwell Baker? Let's put this all on the speaker and hear how you gonna tell them. But how you gonna tell them they ain't taking your community? Why is all of a sudden you got to take the call and then out of the room? So a lot of us, and that's just the bottom line, and that's the hard truth. But a lot of us are selling. We've sold each other out. We've sold out our communities, just protecting, or not even protecting, but just securing our individual interests. So, I saw your comment about me talking with Chief Janice. I love her. She was actually recommended to me by another member of Glow Nation that's also here in Atlanta. I have emailed her a couple of times. Please, you do the same. I even told, King Randall to please tell her I would love for her to be a guest at Clay Malcolm X Day as well. So trust me, I'm trying to reach her. I think she's absolutely on point with the land deeds, and seeing where our names were. And I've been saying that. I have been saying that for a couple of years myself. So absolutely. So and again, in the essence of time and appreciation, we are going to let Brother JL close us out today with just your closing sentiment statement. I'm going to make sure that I put up the banner here for joinmahaliparty.org. But definitely, JL, I would love for you to, knowing that this broadcast is reaching thousands, literally, what do you have to say to a little bit more of that 60% as opposed to that 35%, so that we can again start to organize and unify and get on the same page?
Okay. So the 65 percenters, okay, they are good people, just like any other of our people. There's nothing wrong with them, and there's no need for us to unify them, because they're not going to join you anyway. Not because they hate you, it's because we have different views. It's like saying, okay, I'm from Ghana. Why don't the people in Tanzania have the same views that I have? And I'm from Ghana. And I like you guys, but how come you don't live the way we do? Well, we're from Tanzania, so what are you talking about? And it doesn't make them different, I mean, better or worse. It's how they see things. And they have the same right to live as they do, such as we do. And that's what it is. And I think that's a 20th century concept that I'm not exactly sure where it came from, but you don't find it anywhere before the 20th century, how we as a people saw each other. And we were okay. Just think about this way, our people in this country have been fighting. We fought a war for 200 years, a physical war against these people, started from 1660 to 1860. And never once did they recruit 65 percenters. They didn't anticipate them to be part of it. Never once did the 65 percenters, hey, we're going to help you guys out. That never occurred. We were one race of people, but and treated as single, but we're not. We're really a divided people, and from a political standpoint. That's what I'm referring. And that's who it is. I think the way you embrace it is no different than you embrace, I'm going to Jamaica and make hang out with my people in Jamaica and maybe do business together because they're Jamaicans and we're not, and but we appreciate them from that perspective. But as far as conversion, that's not the goal. The goal is to work with them. I think some of the better things that Mahali is going to do something that they've never had before. We're forming this political party, the Mahali Party, and it's actually even though it's in the 3 states, we're going to run candidates throughout the United States for congressional seats on the Mahali Party. So you're going to see our name outside of the 3 states. Nonetheless, when we go to Congress and we create a congressional delegation, Mahali Party in Washington, which will take place on beginning 2022, um, that's something that's going to be brand new to people, and to see how we execute things is going to be great, incredible. See us fighting for what we want, not asking. We don't beg for anything, and attaining it. So the day will come when we become a nation, and all those people who are going to be leaving, they're going to the homeland. Guess what's going to happen? The 65% are going to stay behind, but we're giving them a great gift, the gift of forming a party. They may even keep the name Mahali Party, but they're going to know how to govern. They're going to know how to govern in their land in America and make sure that they get their piece of what this country offers. So that is a great gift. I mean, they've never done this before. No one's ever done this before. So it's just like the great gift we gave them in 1860. It was the people who believe in Mahali in 1860 that fought that battle in Dallas, Texas, that propelled the Civil War, which gained us our independence. It didn't come from Lincoln. He didn't. He didn't free us. We freed ourselves. Not the 65% or 35%. We're the ones that created the liberty of captivity, and we have 200-year war to prove it. So we've given a lot to our people here. Does it mean that we're going to be together? No, but we can still be people. We can be cordial to each other, and that's really the right thing. They're not going to change. We're not going to change. We're forming a country, and even when we border with the U.S., they'll come visit us. When they get tired, they want a vacation. They're going to come to Mahali. They're going to vacation with us, and then go back home. Anyway, that's my ending statement. I think that this is a good opportunity for us as a people to not just recognize what we have different, but what we have in common. And I'm really proud of Malcolm X, because without him, I don't know where our people would be when it comes to, and I say Malcolm X, he was part of that 65% group, but he did something wonderful, that he gave them something we call cultural nationalism. And that was really a good component for our people, because, they would have lost their identity as they already had, and things would have gotten worse for them. And he stood up against a lot of the atrocity that these people were bringing upon our people. True, I mean, the line between Malcolm X and us is that he would never form a country for us, but that's okay, because not everybody is going to be part of our independent nation. But at least the people that stay behind, they have something to work with, something to fight these people with, so they can maintain their rights. So I'm really grateful that he did that, and then what Martin Luther King did was just genius. He was part of 65%, but what he did was absolutely genius, that he was able to perform legislation out of the streets. That's an amazing thing. So there's a lot of good on both sides. We have to recognize each other and applaud each other for what we did. That's how I see it. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Now, I do want to share that. Thank you, JL, so much. You are a pleasure, absolutely, to just like I said, to be able to glean any of knowledge and any of your intellect. It definitely is always be able to have these engaging conversations with you. I do want to say, in the spirit of Malcolm, though this was not a night that, because of course he gave that riveting art get killed by both, but he was for being independent. He just felt like being independent. Uh, it was totally of any type of systems, whether it be political, whether it be cultural, whether it be federal, was where was I think that he was a big advocate for us just being independent purely. You know, maybe not on the same lane as the anarchist, but I say that look over my dad that because I used to be around drawing those A's and all. And when he was like, look up what the anarchists are about, if you're gonna be putting around the symbols. And I did, and I was just like, yeah, that's what I thought it was. And I think that's what I think that each person, you can just, making up your own independent laws and governing yourself. And that was in my immaturity in my high school days or you. But I think it's with a little bit of that same, not like I said, not the immaturity of that, but with that same mindset of that people should just be allowed to go themselves. They believe and I don't believe that uh, without law, it means the same as what everybody thinks it means. What it means when someone says, I don't want to have to adhere, it is talking about the law and the legal in which we are living now. Like I have a problem, like you said, with the Black Panther Party. I would have no problem respecting law enforcement if there were people that looked like me, felt like me, and had so, Wisdom says, the National Party chair. Hello, welcome, Cedric. Welcome to the room. Um, yes, Kwame, I will definitely highlight that as well. Let me do that. And I'm going to leave this link up for a little bit so that we can information. Remember, Mahali Party is there for you. It's a very not very you don't have to worry about going in and being lost in all of this rhetoric. Have you ever been on one of these sites, these political campaign sites, and they're talking about everything from the water to fracking to what's going on, little Holly traveling. You're just like, well, I didn't come on this site for this. Like, I just want to see what your campaign is about. They have different stories for you to follow and click on, and it's too involved. It's too involved. But Mahali's party website is very streamlined to give you the exact information that you're looking for. So please make sure and I will absolutely highlight Zoom schedule, you Kwame, and y'all know what to do. I'm gonna keep this link up for a little bit, so y'all grab the information that you need. But y'all know what to do. Until next time, glow up.
Thank you. Good night. Thank you for having me. Good night, everyone.